Good evening, folks. My name is Sid Meteorologist Aaron Saray, and today I'll be opening up your Friday edition and the final edition for this year and for the semester of FSU weather. A live look at Doak Campbell Stadium shows what was a beautiful sunset behind the stadium with those pink and blue clouds behind there. We are sitting at a comfortable in the 60s. Not sure it's quite that low, but certainly very cool outside under mostly cloudy conditions. Current local temperatures, you can see they're sticking in the 60s across the Big Bend region of Florida, even up into southwest Georgia. They're in the low to mid 60s, I should say, tonight or this evening. Our mugging meter shows very, very comfortable conditions out there. Dewey would approve if you know who he is. You can see smile faces all the way down the peninsula into South Florida. Tonight in Tally, 50 degrees under mostly cloudy conditions. You need a jacket tonight. Tonight's headlines: a lack of snow with holiday season begins. Finals starts next week Monday, and the last show of the semester. All that and more in FSU weather.
You know what, Aaron? That presentation, you're right on the spot. No snow anywhere right now in the continental U.S. except for the high terrain, and that's really because we're in a warm pattern. Tallahassee's included in that. We've had temperatures in the lower 70s, mid-70s, which is above average. On this morning, though, we did have some notable weather. It was rather foggy. We had a dense fog advisory, but you know it's not Christmas time yet, so we didn't need Rudolph to have his nose got us through that foggy time, so that was okay. Hopefully the commute went well. Through next week, we should expect similar conditions. We should say well above average. Lows will probably creep into the upper 50s. We'll have some more cloud cover, but finals week looks like it's going to be a fine one to study, especially if you're a warm weather lover, as most are if you go to school in Florida. And then recapping this past week, overall pretty pleasant conditions. A little bit cooler earlier in the week, but we've warmed up significantly so, and that's going to be the trend heading into next week. So head out to Schroeder, and then we'll head back to the wall as you do that.
All right, thank you, Hayden. We just had a beautiful sunset over Doak Campbell Stadium today. Current temperature in Tallahassee, it is 64 degrees and currently mostly cloudy. Winds are light out of the south-southwest at 5 miles an hour. For our current radar, there is not really much of anything to speak of at the moment. You could see perhaps a little bit of sea breeze front showing up earlier today, but most of what you can see on the moment is just radar backscatter, and there is no actual rain anywhere in our region at the moment. Current temperatures across the region, it is 67 degrees in Tallahassee, and that's a lot like much of the region right now. Most of the region is in the mid-60s. Our coldest spot, St. Mark's, at 62. Madison, also a warm spot at 67 degrees. Wind speed and direction, it is very calm across the region right now. 0 miles an hour in Tallahassee. Really the only spot we're seeing any wind at all is up here in Donaldsonville, where we've got winds of about 5 miles an hour out of the west. For our dew points, it is not too dewy out there today. We've got a dew point of about 55 degrees here in Tallahassee at the moment, which is actually one of the drier air regions it's actually one of our drier spots in the region at the moment. Our most humid area in the region at the moment is right by the coast in Crawfordville at 66 degree dew points. That would definitely still feel humid, pretty humid for this time of year, really. For our future radar, not too much to speak of. We do have some clouds moving across the region and perhaps the chance of some light showers moving through tomorrow morning. But overall, I think it's probably going to be less widespread than what this radar map suggests, and we probably won't have to worry too much about heavy rainstorms tomorrow. Tonight's forecast across the region, low 50s across most of the area, with a low 51 in Tallahassee is one of our colder spots. Lows perhaps a little bit warmer down by the coast, 54 down in Carabel, but low 50s up across our inland counties in Florida and Georgia. Tonight in Tally, a low of 50 and mostly cloudy. Winds are going to be calm. For your beach forecast, if you happen to be planning a beach trip tomorrow, it will be pretty comfortable down there in Panama City Beach. Air temperature about 70 degrees. Water pretty chilly, actually, it's 64. Light winds, light surf, not too much to worry about as far as UV index goes. Days are pretty short already, and you don't have to worry too much about bright sunlight. For the week ahead, it'll be a lot like today for the next couple of days. Highs in the low 70s to mid 70s, lows in the 50s, and a chance of rain moves in next week. I'm now going to go ahead and pass off the remote. to Hayden.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. For sure, it looks like a warm weekend. You see some thunderstorms, kind of puts in that spring season, including, speaking of spring season, the temperatures aren't feeling it. But when you see a weather pattern of a cold front and low pressure over Oklahoma, you go, oh boy. But of course, this is not May. We have pretty stable air over area. This front drapes all across the East Coast, and then across our West Coast, of course, is the high pressure over Albuquerque. Satellite and radar, we have some snow showers coming off the lakes. We have a trough digging into the Pacific Northwest and across the northern plains, but across our area, most of it is dry. We do have a little upper level low disturbance bringing some showers, but overall it's really light. Most of our nation is a lot clearer than what you expect for this time of the year, and there's a lot of cold fronts and trough activity. So I'm just highlighting some light snowfall over Billings, Montana. Shout out to Evan, who lives in Idaho Falls. I think it's somewhere down here. Looks like he has maybe some snowfall to look out later this week. Snow across in Halifax and your Canadian Maritimes, and of course snow in the U.S. heading around Detroit and into Traverse City and Marquette, of course, followed by some light showers up in Dallas. This is likely going to stay very light. It's not going to be anything significant. Heading into the next couple of days, I think there's a marginal risk by the SPC, and we'll get into that. But for right now, pretty docile. Big picture, warm conditions dominating the area. A big plain of high warmth and dome coming across Texas, 77 San Antonio, 72 Fort Worth, even heading into Arizona. Southeast also staying moderate as well, seeing the 60s. And then you do notice where our cold air is locked across our northern states. Boston, a cool 37 degrees, including Minneapolis. With that temperature gradient comes that strong dew point gradient. Texas, 60s, mid-60s, indicative of that moisture and precipitation chance in that area. Florida also staying moist, of course, given that water. And dew points across the north, very bone dry at 30s. And of course, our west is extremely dry, except for the maritime provinces for San Francisco. All right, watches and warnings. Most of the U.S., it looks okay. If you're driving anywhere from I-75 to I-85, I-10 across the country, everything looks just great, except if you're watching us, as we allude to that snowfall, if you're watching us in northern Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, in extreme eastern Washington, looks like we have some winter weather advisories that you want to watch out for. And this is our snowfall forecast. This is, like I said, this is through at least Sunday into Monday, so it's not going to come all at once. But we might have a couple of shots at some maybe 12 to 15 inches of rain in some spots in our northern Rockies. And it looks like we'll have a coating of snow across the northeast as well. So our bottom line, where it's cold, it is staying cold, and where it's warm, it's staying warm, and that is confined to north and south. So it's a very zonal pattern for this time of the year in December. That is what you want to take away. And look at this, Saturday morning lows compared to average. We're talking about 15 to maybe even plus 20 across the entire southeast, especially across the Rockies. Even though it's still snowfall, it is well above average from what you'd expect this time of the year. Anyway, tonight temperatures, 60s across our southeast. Above our stationary boundary, we're heading into the 30s for most of the area. So cool conditions if you're north of that stationary boundary, eclipsing the central U.S. Tomorrow's highs, getting into 70s across the southeast and slowly, incrementally working up into the 40s. So definitely some cool times for north, but pleasant for us. What do you say, Aaron?
It is very pleasant. I mean, 70s for me, honestly, is very nice, and especially when it's a dry 70, it can definitely feel very pleasant out there. But across the southeast, you can see mostly clear conditions across much of the area where there is daylight. You can see some purple skies in Gainesville. Don't know what that's about, but they are sitting pretty clear in the mid-60s. Our satellite and radar pretty much shows the story. You can see it's very clear across much of the southeast. Maybe some shower and cloud activity as you go towards more of the south-central plains, over towards places like Dallas and Houston. But those will make its way kind of around the southeast in a way. So those will definitely stay away from Florida where we're at. But we may get to see a few occasional shower coming off the Gulf where we're at in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. Our satellite and radar across much of the southeast, you can see again, mostly clear, maybe a little bit of clouds, especially higher level clouds as we get towards places like central Alabama, making its way into Georgia, and then down towards Big Bend where we're at here in Florida. And then of course some more cloud coverage you get down over towards Louisiana and the central Gulf coasts. And across the peninsula of Florida, there are a few clouds making its way from the Gulf in places like Tampa, up the I-75 corridor, up towards Lake City. We might see maybe some high clouds and maybe an occasional shower, especially along places like Cedar Key up there just north of Tampa, and then of course out in the Gulf of Mexico as well. Our current temperatures across the southeast, pleasant in the 70s, really much of the area. It's not really until you get towards maybe extreme northwestern sections of the region where you might be in the 60s, like where Little Rock is currently at 63 degrees. But really across the area, and of course you go towards Miami, where they're always mostly the warm spot at 80 degrees. Our wind speed direction, you can see we actually have this the clockwise flow around the high pressure out in the Gulf, which is pretty much what's suppressing much of the convection to form across the southeast. You can see calm condition in Tallahassee, but you can see the arrows kind of coming out of the northwest, places like Tampa, and then of course a little bit of a sea breeze down towards Miami, where you have some wind coming in from the Atlantic Ocean. But you can see elsewhere, a little bit closer to where there is some activity, Little Rock does have a little bit higher wind speed over there. Our dew points across much of the area, again, Dewey does approve in Florida and does approve across much of the southeast, with 50s across much of the southeast. It's not really until you get towards Atlanta where you might see maybe in the 40s. So this is really the comfortable air, not bone dry, but really comfortable air to which at least it feels more like the temperature it actually is. Our water vapor, you can see you see a little bit of a swirl over here towards Texas, and that's actually associated with a storm system that is forming, and that'll move off towards the northeast. Won't affect us too much here in Florida, as it does kind of ride its way off towards Tennessee and off towards the northeast, but it might bring us a little bit more water vapor towards our area. Future radar pretty much shows some showery conditions across much of the region, but really tomorrow, as we get into tomorrow, you can see 70s again across much of the area as we see those comfortable conditions continue. What do you say about that, Hayden?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'd say, yeah, I think South Florida and North Florida is all going to go in. And wow, look at this. I'm pretty sure this is, it might be a camera issue, I'm not sure, but either way, we've got some brilliant pinks over Panama City Beach. The sun's setting. If this is happening, please send us tweets and let me know it's not a camera issue. But anyways, awesome sunset. And we're getting this because we have some high clouds streaming in with our jet stream from Tallahassee to Tampa, seeing some high clouds. And of course, Miami, pretty clear, maybe a couple of showers or two out by the dry Tortugas, but overall very pleasant. Taking a closer look at some of those high clouds filtering across Bay County and Calhoun County, those high little wispy clouds. The only thing it's going to affect is maybe from look at the star tonight, we'll get into that. So stay tuned to maybe some fog later on tonight. But other than that, not much to talk about, not too much in town. Daytona Beach, Tampa, I-4 corridor, very clear skies. There's some clutter activity, so not popping up any rain, so don't worry about that if you're watching us around Chiefland and Cedar Key. And of course, South Florida looking quite clear and warm. Current temperatures, despite being the sun is set, mid-70s across our I-10 corridor, which is well above average. And we're actually the same temperature down in Miami, West Palm as we are in the Panhandle. It's a little more humid down there, but the fact that we have the same temperature tells us we're in a very stable, zonal mean climate, because you expect North Florida to be much cooler this time of the year. Muggy meter, bunch of smiley faces. It feels great out there. Tomorrow morning, through this weekend, matter of fact, get out there. Humidity will be a little bit on the rise, but it's going to be a pleasant time. Some smiley faces. And then, of course, southeast Florida, it's going to be a little more humid. You have a little bit of a grimace, but it's okay. Future radar, some showers coming in off the Atlantic with that breeze, and some fog kind of setting up in the evening hours. Looks like there might be a couple of showers in our Alabama area. If you're watching in southeast Alabama, maybe the extreme on the northwest Florida Panhandle. We can't rule out a shower, but just expect partly cloudy to maybe mostly cloudy skies, but I think it's going to be pretty dry. So tonight, summing up, we have 50s north of our I-4 corridor, with even a 49 getting into Gainesville and Calais. So bring a jacket, of course, if you're in there. And then mid to upper 60s dominating our southeast with that warm influence of the Gulf. Tomorrow's highs, of course, getting into the mid-70s. You get into lower 80s for South Florida if you're heading to the beach, bring your sunshine. Miami staying sunny, 82, some showers. Tampa heading into the 80s as well, staying dry. Orlando, same picture, dry, getting very warm into the 80s. And Jacksonville, of course, in the mid-70s, dry conditions. So now we're going to bring it over to the desk with Aaron.
Thank you, Hayden, for that Florida forecast. As we move into the holiday desk, which is where I will be discussing right now, really the biggest story, at least in terms of weather across much of the U.S., really has been a lack of snow, at least for this time of year. Most of the snow we've been getting really has been confined to extreme northern parts of the nation. So places like the Midwest and the Rockies have seen a little bit of snow, but not nearly what we should be getting. And we're actually, I think, the third lowest snowfall for this time of the year. But really, really it has part to do with really this winter, how it's been set up. We've been fairly dry across much of the eastern U.S., which is what you need, to form snow, the moisture you need in the atmosphere. And even though we had some of the cooler air in place across the east, as you may recall, through much of November, but we really haven't had that moisture in place to actually form the snow. And really, of course, out in the west, we've had persistent ridges that kind of blocked and kind of cut off a lot of that moisture from the area. We did have occasional snow in the Sierra Nevadas, places like that, but really not lack of snow across the area like that. And December is going to feature actually a lot of the same. We're actually featuring above average temperatures expected across much of the southern U.S. So really, if you're looking for a white Christmas in places like Texas or Florida, I'm definitely not expecting it here. And drier conditions are also expected in the south as well. Might get some precipitation in the Pacific Northwest and the Midwest, but that's pretty much it. But now I'll turn things back to the wall with Graham.
All right, thank you, Aaron. We had quite a warm day today here in Tallahassee. Got all the way up to a high of 76 degrees, well above our average of 68 for this time of year, and actually almost all the way up to our record of 81. However, if you were up early this morning, you definitely noticed that we had a bit of that fall chill in the air. We got down to a low of 43 degrees this morning. Live look at Doak. Sun is gone. You can still see a little bit of its sunlight down by the horizon. And actually, you can begin to see Venus coming into our field of view tonight. 64 degrees and mostly cloudy across the region. Winds out of the south-southwest at 5 miles an hour. Not too much, so not too much to notice with the wind there. Current radar, not much to see around the region. Few little specks of what looks to be radar backscatter, especially in the last couple frames. But don't worry about it. There's no actual rain around the region right now. Hour by hour, today we had a low of 43 at 7 a.m. this morning, but then after the sun rose, we had it warm up very quickly up all the way into the 70s by even late morning, and by noon we were up to 74. By this afternoon, it was just in the mid-70s all afternoon, and we are maybe just now starting to cool off a little bit from the mid-70s down to the low 70s. Maybe we're even down into the upper 60s by now after 6 o'clock. Current local temperatures, indeed, we are down to 67 degrees here in Tallahassee, which appears to be one of our warmest spots in the region right now. Madison at 67 is our other warm spot. St. Mark's at 62 down by the coast is actually our colder spot at the moment. It's also just a hair cooler up in Georgia. For our muggy meter around the state, it is very dry conditions over most of the state. We've got smiling faces all around. Far south is Fort Myers, far east is Jacksonville, and of course here in Tallahassee. Perhaps a little bit muggy in places like Key West, Miami, West Palm Beach, and actually Pensacola as well, but it's certainly not anywhere close to what the oppressive conditions we get in summer. For tonight's forecast, tonight's lows across the region will generally be down to the low 50s. Tallahassee at 51 is pretty typical for the region. It'll be a little bit warmer down by the coast in the mid-50s. Future radar, not too much to worry about. As I said earlier, this is probably just cloudiness and maybe a handful of light spotty showers. Not too much to worry about. For our beach forecast, it's a cool day to be at the beach tomorrow. Tonight in Tally, it'll be 50 degrees, and for the week ahead, it's going to be in the 70s for most of the days. A little rain next week, and I'm going to pass it off to Aaron.
Thank you, Graham. As we now go into our sports section, we will first admire the beautiful view out of Doak Campbell Stadium. Again, the sun did set back there, and we are seeing some remnants of the sun back there, some of that orange and reds back there. But overall, I mean, clear night tonight, mostly clear, I should say, under very beautiful conditions at around the mid-60s. Our satellite and radar is very clear with some high clouds in the area, but they're all moving quickly off to the east, which is what Hayden said earlier with the jet stream. Our men's basketball, you can see we are versing Syracuse. You can see temperatures will be in the 70s as we go towards the beginning of the game. You can see as we get into about really throughout much of it'll start to cool down a bit into the 60s as we get towards the latter part of the game. And our women's basketball Sunday as well against Charleston Southern at 2 p.m. You can see the conditions will pretty much remain in the low to mid 70s throughout the game. Our future radar, you can see some high clouds moving into the area. I think the model's overdoing a little bit with some of the precipitation we might see, but maybe an isolated shower or two across the region. Nothing too serious, at least what we would see in the summertime. For our track and field, you can see really it looks like it's up in Boston. You can see we're going to start in the 20s at 7 a.m. But as we get into the later part of the day, we might warm up only into the 40s. So if you are heading up to Boston, certainly might want to bring a jacket up there. Our women's volleyball on Saturday, we are sitting also in Nebraska in the 40s and upper 30s. So if you are watching volleyball, we are seeing really nice conditions, but again, we are sitting very much in the 40s, so you might need to grab a jacket if you are out to watch the game.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. All right, sorry about that. Current radar, not much around the region at the moment to worry about. So for our weekend forecast, it's a Friday night. It might be a date night for you. It's going to be a beautiful night out there. Low tonight at 50 degrees is a little bit on the chilly side, but certainly not uncomfortable for this time of year. If you happen to enjoy stargazing, I'm certainly into astronomy. It's a pretty good night. Well, actually, it's a pretty bad night to be outside. Sorry about that. It is going to be mostly cloudy out there, and there's actually a chance of some pretty significant fog this evening as well. Actually, though, tomorrow night is the new moon, so going into next week would be a pretty good time to go moon gazing if you happen to be into that. And we actually just had our earliest sunset of the year yesterday. Men's basketball tomorrow, game here against Syracuse. Unfortunately, I can't go to it. Pretty comfortable conditions before the game if you happen to be into basketball tailgating. 73 degrees at 4 o'clock, 71 at 5. Still comfortable enough after the game at 65 degrees. For your dog walk forecast tomorrow, it'll be warming up pretty quickly tomorrow morning from a low of up to the low 50s, 55 at 9 a.m., 64 at 11. Very good time to get out there and walk your pooch tomorrow morning. Future radar, probably not too much to worry about. Chance of a few little showers, but probably not too much to worry about. But overall, probably just cloudiness tomorrow. For your weekend ahead, it'll be pretty comfortable for the next couple days. Actually, the days are going to be a lot like today. Lows probably in the low 70s or so. And my clicker is not working. And lows are going to be in the 50s. And overall, though, it's going to be pretty comfortable still. Very seasonable for this time of year. And I guess I'll go ahead and pass it off to Hayden.
Yeah, thank you, Graham. Yeah, for sure. Seeing some finals week is upon us. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It's going to be 65 degrees and chilly for tonight. A little, like I said, a little chilly. LIO, a little humor in this finals time. So of course, enjoy that. Libraries open up late, so maybe expect some patchy fog. You're driving back around say 12 or 1 from that library. So next week. The CPC and the next week, for that matter, is highlighting above average chance of seeing above average temperatures. Shading's not indicative of how warm it's going to be, just the probability that we're going to see warmer temperatures than normally we see, and that looks like it's going to be the case. Future radar, this is just popping up on that fog that we might see. It looks like our fog is going to start dissipating at say 9:30, and we're going to see clear skies with some high clouds popping in. This also is indicative of some sea fog around 6 o'clock or so around the Big Bend. So no rainfall. It's just picking up in that low cloud moisture that might condense and form a little foggy conditions. So if you need help studying, what are some resources to go to? The Academic Center for Excellence, also known as ACE. It's a great resource. I went to that in my freshman and sophomore year's course for physics. Reading and Writing Center. If you have papers for English, your humanity classes, that is the awesome area. You're going to book an appointment, and they'll get right to you. And then, of course, you have Treasure and Direct Libraries, study rooms, private rooms, coffee. If you need to rejuvenate, you might, all that good stuff. So satellite radar, pretty clear across the nation, clear across Tallahassee for that finals week, of course. Nothing too much popping up that we went into. So let's say, Thanksgiving break. You're really productive and only classes are online. And you're saying, I don't have finals, I'm driving home. Well, we had that forecast for you too. It's going to be clear skies, driving back, dropping to the lower 50s. So if you like it more, maybe you can put up turn up the heat in your car. Other than that, those conditions are going to be fine as long as you don't have accidents on the roadways. Airport delays, if you're heading to see some loved ones, seeing some friends, right now 64 degrees. We have a green sign, so that means we have no airport delays. So that's awesome. Head out to TLH. Small airport, but nonetheless, it is an international. So across the whole, actually southeast and across the country, we have no delays. So if you want to travel, you have some cheap air flights, now is the time to go. All right, so future radar is staying really clear and through the time. The southeast will have some showers to anticipate, but nothing too crazy.
All right, thank you, Hayden. So for your recap, the week ahead is going to be a lot of days a lot like today, actually. We're generally going to have temperatures in the 70s for the next few days. Pretty warm for this time of year, but a chance of some storms in the middle of next week. For tonight's forecast here in Tallahassee, it's going to be low in the low 50s, 52 degrees, and it's actually going to be low 50s across most of our region. Perhaps just a little bit warmer down by the coast. 56 in Apalachicola is our warmest spot. For your forecast tonight here on FSU campus, your Strozier forecast, if you want to visit the library to get some studying in, 65 degrees this evening, but a little bit chilly. You might want to bring a jacket. Airport delays across the region. If you're done with finals already and traveling home, delays are unlikely at Tallahassee. And in fact, it's so calm around the country that delays are pretty much unlikely no matter where you're going this weekend. As I said, no real activity around the country today. For tomorrow's highs, southeast is our warm spot in the 70s, but everywhere in the country is going to be fairly mild for this time of year, even Minneapolis with a high of 35. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to the desk with Aaron and Hayden.
Thanks, Hayden. As we close our now final show for the semester, really want to say just what we're going to expect for the next in December. Really drier and warmer conditions across much of the southeast and includes our area.
Absolutely. If you're into Florida snowman, aka sandcastles, you'll have the opportunity to do so. The waters might be a little cool, but Florida snowmen will be awesome and around the area.
I mean, with those drier conditions, I mean, expect to make a lot of snow, I should say sandman, at the beach, or Florida sandman, or Florida snowmen. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for that. And really, I mean, with that, we all might expect some rain showers up across the Midwest and some snow there, but really looking not much different than it was in November.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's going to be warm December here, I love to go ice skating inside. Anyways, follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather.
And like us on Facebook at facebook.com/FSU Weather.
And of course, I think it's watch us live on YouTube. If you're watching us right now, you know where to find us. Spread the word.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FSU Weather. And from all of us here at FSU Weather, have a great Christmas or whatever you celebrate, and have a happy New Year. And until next year, I'm student meteorologist Aaron Saray.
And I'm meteorologist Shane Wilder. Have a great night.